Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of our Equality and Diversity Talks. And today I have the amazing Sam from the West Midlands. So, hi, how are you, Sam?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I hope you're okay as well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm brilliant. Thank you so much for coming along today, and I really appreciate your time. And we're just going to talk today kind of about equality and diversity in the music industry, what it's kind of been like for you as an artist, and kind of some of the barriers and the struggles that you've had to overcome today to be who you are and what you represent. So, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm a singer-songwriter and producer. I currently live in Solihull, just outside Birmingham. I just moved there recently, actually. And yeah, I've started music when I was probably about 15. So about, or 16 really. So just over 10 years ago now. I'm 27 this year. So it feels like ages since I've started. But and yeah, so I started writing songs to begin with. That was sort of my main and my first sort of step in the industry. And then after that, I then went on to sort of production. So I started working on learning how to do production in general. And ever since I launched a production company, so it sort of specialized in producing for younger upcoming artists at sort of affordable prices, just to kind of kickstart their journey in the industry, really. And ever since, yeah, I've released 2 albums. The third one is coming out this year, and I just sort of regularly release singles throughout the year, pretty much. So yeah, it's been a nice, interesting journey so far for the last few years, especially after coming out of obviously lockdown and COVID. It's been quite challenging, so it's just nice to sort of bounce back and get back into working, and releasing really.
Amazing. That sounds great. And it sounds like you've got so many different skills that you're kind of doing. That's amazing. So whereabouts are you originally from? Where do you originally come from?
Yeah, so I was born in England, but my yeah, Middle Eastern. So I lived most of my life in the Middle East, pretty much up until I was 15. So I do consider myself British Syrian, which is sort of my background, or Middle Eastern, if that makes sense. Because Eastern, and so is my mum. And again, I lived most of my life there. But I came back when I was 15, as soon as sort of the Syrian war had started. Or 7 months into the Syrian war, pretty much. And then I came back here and lived, in the UK ever since, pretty much. So, but yeah, this is sort of my background. It's sort of Arabic, Middle Eastern slash British.
It's amazing. And have you found that kind of with the representation of your background? Have you found that in the music industry that you see a lot of representation, or do you see a lot of people like yourself in the music industry at the moment, or do you think that that can improve?
Oh, absolutely. You can always improve. I think there's a huge lack of representation in every aspect in the music industry in general. That's, the sort of, you go into culture, race, sexuality, gender. There's a huge sort of indifference really within the levels of how much you see. I think it's getting better. I think it could do much better with time. I think it would sort of come along. For me personally, I found it more challenging as a sort of queer artist, as well as being sort of, mixed sort of culturally, if that makes sense. So having, the Middle Eastern background and English background,
Wow.
to be represented in a sense.
Yeah.
Because as much as we talk about sort of equality and diversity being sort of, there's a huge lack of opportunities for artists like myself,
Yeah.
that I've seen a lot of artists who are on the same sort of artistic level as I am,
Yeah.
but not what I am as a person,
Yes.
get a lot more opportunities sort of, being given to them. Um, Throughout the last few years, I have noticed a huge difference in terms of obviously, chances and, well, shows being offered more, or opportunities being sort of given more to myself and artists like myself, especially within the sort of LGBTQ plus community as well, which I also consider myself a huge part of. I think a lot has sort of been there for people to sort of grab, and has been given in a way. Can it be improved? Absolutely, 100%. I think so much that can be done for artists like myself to sort of contribute towards and be and partake, if that makes sense, be part of.
Yes, yeah, I think it definitely does. And another thing that kind of strikes me is kind of, it's not just acceptance from the industry, but also cultural acceptance. And I suppose when you identify in different kind of intersectionalities, I suppose that also has a challenge culturally as well as educationally and socially. And did you think that's also hinders a lot of people as well as the opportunities that people are given as well? Do you think that's another kind of massive barrier that people face?
100%. I mean, even, you know, away from just, you know, job opportunities or, you know, opportunities in general, I think a lot of people are deprived from it. Like there's sort of a lack of being able to just live your normal life in a way because you're not particularly the norm.
Yeah.
But it to be the social norm, if that makes sense.
It does.
But again, there is a lot of changes that we have seen. You go into look. I mean, going back to sort of the LGBTQ plus community, going back and watching stuff like, for example, It's a Sin or Pose as TV shows and series that are very successful. Looking back at how it was before to how it is now, that's a huge difference. We don't realize that because we haven't lived. But looking back at the history of it, this is all based on history and how we were treated then to compare to what our privilege in a way is now, which is not privilege that we aim to be at. We want to get there. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge sort of effect on people's lives and jobs, etc.
Definitely. And do you feel that once we get more representation, that will kind of help inspire the younger generations and give them someone to aspire to be like and someone to kind of look up to? Because I think for myself, like being a trans woman as well in the music industry, I really struggle with that kind of who is there to aspire to be like? Who is there like me that I can kind of want to become like, or want to kind of look up to and say, look, they made it, so can I, kind of thing? Do you think that's what we need more of? Because it's just something we don't see.
100%, absolutely, 100%. I think it takes a lot of courage for people to be representatives of a certain culture or generation. It's a fearful thing. You know, it's quite a scary sort of feeling to be like, oh, well, you know, I'm a representative or I'm a leader for my own kind, you know. But also it's such a it's such a good feeling when you feel like you're contributing towards something. So when you look at someone, for example, who am I trying to think of? Sophie, for example. Sophie, who recently passed away as an artist, is a transgender woman who was super successful. So she's produced for artists like Lady Gaga. I think she did for Madonna, etc. But her trans rights were her priority, and she led a history of sort of representation, and so that helped a lot of trans people in general sort of forward and be like, well, I also want to represent. But again, you know, you see in history books when you go deep into the history of how sort of the evolution of us as human beings for the last decades, there's a lot of representation, but there needs to be much more than that. You know, there needs to be much more than. And the thing is as well, we've got the access to it now. We've got social media. We've got, you know, people have got so much more courage to do stuff, and they've the sort of tools and equipment to do it. So just go for it. Is there going to be a challenge? Are there going to be sort of barriers to do it? 100%. But there's no change that can be done unless we do go through that.
Well said. Well said. And that leads perfectly to my next question, which would be kind of, your journey in the industry has been kind of phenomenal and fantastic. And like you said, it's very inspirational. So how have you kind of overcome those barriers, and kind of what knowledge would you pass on to somebody who's trying to be or aspire to be like you? What would your kind of tips and hints be of kind of success and succeeding?
So this is that's a very, very important question. Very, very good. So thank you for asking it, because I think it's probably one of the most important ones that can help people. The difficult part is accepting you as a person to begin with, because when you go into sort of digging deep into what you really are, there's a lot of barriers that you yourself have within yourself. And as soon as you overcome them as a person, nothing else matters. The rest is just, it's nothing, it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently I'm 27 and I've always been the person that I am, but I've recently come to terms with the fact that I am the person that I am and I am the artist that I am. And now I'm like, actually, I've overcome all these fears. For the last 10 years, I've been very expressive, physically, if that makes sense, because I dress up, I'm like, whatever, hair, makeup, it's clothes, fashion, all of that. But I've never actually verbally spoken about it.
Yeah.
And I've never been expressive verbally about it. And up until I realized I don't care about sharing, who I am. I don't care about saying, yeah, I am this person. And as soon as you do come to that term, nothing else, it's very emotional. And then you just realize it opens up a whole world for you, because the rest is just nothing. No one can stop you from being that person.
Well,
so yeah,
I think that's such a beautiful thing to share, and thank you for sharing some of the things that you shared with us, because that will save lives, that will kind of help other people, and that will inspire and encourage, and I think that's what we're trying to explain here is through these shows is kind of some of the difficulties and some of the challenges that people face. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, but I just want to show that people can do it, and it's kind of about perseverance and dedication and love, inner love from yourself, isn't it? Like what you're saying. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's beautiful as well. And what kind of things have you got coming up next in your career? Like, do you want to share some of that with the viewers?
Absolutely, 100%. So we've got the third album, hopefully is coming out this year. It's been a bit sort of up and down, as it is with everyone's sort of jobs and industries, really. The challenges are there, but we sort of continue and we keep going, really. So we're hoping the third album will be out this year. We're going to hopefully launch it in Birmingham and just do sort of a show, which you're invited to, by the way.
Thank you. That'd be amazing.
Attend. And yeah, I'm going to something a bit different in my career. I haven't done before, but I've always wanted to do that, which is sort of getting more involved in the film industry. So I'm looking at at the moment we're working on a movie which is based on pretty much my life, but I can't go too deep into it.
Yeah.
And sort of that's been taking a bit of my time, which is really, really exciting, actually. But yeah, so I'm hoping that this will sort of boost up my sort of journey at the moment, and yeah, hopefully. And we're releasing songs until then. I tend to do sort of singles throughout the year.
Yeah.
So the next one is coming up very soon, pretty much. Yeah, but it will be all like.
What will the single be called? And do you want to leave your social handles so people could find you if they're looking to find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So the single is going to be called Cages, which again goes back to sort of what we were talking about earlier, sort of being caged up within your own self, which is sort of the biggest challenge that you can go through as a person, which is not breaking your own barriers and accepting them. It's a very, very sort of melodramatic, but also very sort of I don't know what's the word for it. What's the genre? It's not poppy. It's more alternative. Nice. But yeah, it's called Cages, and yeah, it'll be on Spotify, iTunes, pretty much every sort of music platform. And for me, you can find me at official Elsam, so Elsa from Frozen, as I say, but with an M at the end. Nice. It goes official Elsam.
That's amazing. So check Elsam out on social media, and I'm sure you can find out all the latest stuff that's going on. And kind of, you said you've got some up and coming shows. Do you want to share that with the viewers as well? About some of the shows you've got?
Absolutely. So I've got a festival this coming Saturday, actually, called Heal Festival, and in terms of the festival, it's the first time they put it on, if that makes sense. It's in Shrewsbury, which is very exciting. It's my first festival this year, and this year we are doing the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham as well, August as well, which is really exciting. It's the first time I do like a public sort of outside, sort of venue, which is in the city centre of Birmingham. So that should be quite exciting as well.
Great. And if anyone wants to collaborate or contact you, I know your management's been excellent at kind of arranging this. Is there any ways they can kind of contact you if they want to collaborate or do some work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, so my management, VNS management, super amazing. We've been working together for years now, and I think more than 8 years now. Actually, we've been sort of working alongside each other, and yeah. So to sort of any sort of suggestions or any sort of inquiries, just VNS management. Also on socials, they'll be able to help out as well.
Amazing. And thank you so much for taking the time out today, again, to speak to me. I really found our talk so fascinating and inspiring. And it's really kind of blown me away how open and honest you've been and how much you've shared and what kind of shining light you are to so many young individuals across the country. So just keep up the amazing work. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. No, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, any sort of help that also I can do, people, please, like, I'd love for people to message me, with any sort of questions about themselves, and I'll be able to share more of sort of how I figured myself out and what I can do to help. So that's also very important, is that people that have the platform to share, like, use it properly as well. Just use it to sort of share your story and what, how you can help. So.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Thank you. I hope you have a great afternoon and evening.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.